Hello everyone, today I'm going to be attempting a really cool painting style. This one comes from Japan and it's called Sumi-E. So in Japanese, Sumi-E actually stands for black ink painting. It uses black ink, a very large tapered brush, and water to make various scenes, usually natural elements, things like bamboo, chrysanthemums, cherry blossoms, mountains, landscapes, or even just animals. Before we get started, you're going to need some materials, and I encourage you to get some books on the subject. So this one came from the Chavez Library. This one is called Japanese Ink Painting, The Art of Sumi-E. This one tells you a lot about the really traditional methods. It's a very technical painting book that tells you all the different techniques of how to do this painting. I managed to get some through our Link Plus system. So this one is called Super Simple Sumi-E. This one's very family friendly, so if you want to do this activity with your children and you want to have some easier subjects to paint, something a little more fun like, you know, animals, dragons, birds, that sort of thing, I highly recommend using this book as a reference. Also, if you don't want to do a super monochrome painting and if you like color in your life, you can try this one, Mindful Artist Sumi-E Painting, Master the Meditative Art of Japanese Brush Painting by Virginia Lloyd-Davies. You're also going to want a watercolor set if you can't get an inkwell to use for this activity. I'm mostly just going to be using my black watercolor. You're going to want, again, a brush, a tapered brush. I have two different brushes here and I'm going to see which one works best. This one came with my watercolor set. It doesn't taper too much on the ends, but it is a bit thicker than this one. You also want to have some watercolor paper. This is very thick paper that's not going to warp as much when it gets wet. You also want some water to use to dip your brushes in to get the watercolor started. And also a paper towel to dab in case you get too much water. An optional thing that you can get is a paint palette. You can use this to kind of adjust the darkness of your color or to mix colors. So now that we have our materials, let's get started.
I'm going to show you two different ways to hold your brush. So one way is this first grip with your 2 fingers and thumb, or you can try holding it a little bit like a pencil with your pointer finger and thumb. There are different effects you can get by loading the brush in different ways with ink and also with the pressure. So how hard you press will make thicker lines, and if you just use the tip you can get a very fine line. Also, if you go at an angle, you can create sort of a gradient effect and also change directions in a unique way. To get started, we're going to make a very simple rabbit. So first we're going to want to dip our brush into the water and dab a little bit off. I did pre-mix some of my watercolor onto my palette with some water so that it would dilute it and make a little more of a gray color. If you have a larger brush than I do, you might be able to do this in the actual style, which is to do this in one big sweep and fill the whole thing. But my brush is a little too small, so I did have to go in and fill in after the fact. We're also going to be making, after this circle here, we're going to make a crescent shape for the head. It's going to be separated from the body. And we do this because in this style it's really meant to be a little more impressionistic, not hyper-realistic, although you can go that route. We just want to give you the general idea of the object with the shapes that we're using and use as few strokes as possible, although with this brush I really do have to draw it in a little bit more than I would if I had a proper Sumi-E brush. But this is what I had to work with, and I do go over this a few times just because I'm a little finicky with the shape of my painting here. And then I will go over the body with some extra paint just to make it a little bit darker and match the head. Once you get your bunny where you like it, we're going to wait for it to dry before we draw on some more details. With watercolor, if you add any more pigment on top, it will actually spread out. So we're going to keep this one aside and come back to it. And here's the finished product. I just used the very tip of the brush to do some detailed eyes and a tail. For this next part, I'll be painting a more traditional subject, which is bamboo. We're going to go at it from the side with the brush, and we're going to drag upwards in multiple segments until we get to the end of what we want our bamboo height to be. So just want to make sure you get enough pigment on your brush. I did have to go over mine a couple of times. It also helps if you have a darker color towards the end of your brush and maybe some lighter watercolor towards the top of your brush. That way you get kind of more of a gradient. And then just lining the ends of the segments with a darker color like you sometimes see on bamboo. From here, we're going to want to try to make some leaves coming off of the little segment points there. So I'm going to draw a line out from this middle section here. And then we're going to go at it from the side again and drag downwards, coming from different directions to mimic the kind of palm-shaped leaves that tend to grow out of the sides of bamboo. So I'm going to make my second leaf here. So I'm just going to start by dragging downward to a point at different angles again, like I did before. These ones I actually liked a bit better. They turned out pretty well. And they're just very simple leaves that give you the idea that they're kind of growing out of the side of your bamboo. But do whatever feels nice to you. If you need a reference photo, you can always grab one from the internet as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you'd like to check out some books like these, definitely visit our website at ssjcpl.org, and I hope you try it out yourself. Thank you.